Hi, my name is Keenan,
My name's Steve.
and you're listening to Saving Lives with Drones. Well, buddy, this is episode number 13.
Yeah, lucky number 13.
I know I'm kind of stoked and kind of excited just to see how lucky we're going to really get. So we actually have our first question that came in.
That's awesome.
I'm kind of excited about it because that's one of the things you can do with Saving Lives with Drones. You can go to the website, savingliveswithdrones.org. You can go to Ask a Question, click on it, and just fill in your name, email, and whatever your question is, and we'll be more than happy to answer it, as long as it's related to public safety and drones.
Definitely.
And
Good to hear some feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about our sponsor.
Sure.
And this time it's going to be Drone U. I would say the premier web-based drone training group that's out there. They have a great community, great training classes. I'm actually helping them I'm actually helping them create their public safety curriculum, and there's going to be over 30 classes for public safety agencies. Unlike most schools that are very much more in person, this school is going to be more primarily based online, but there will be an in-person portion to this school as well. So that way, it's a little more flexible with schedules. It's kind of hard to take 2, 3, sometimes 5 days off to go to an in-person school, and it may be regional or it may not be local, and it gets expensive for a lot of agencies.
Yeah.
But with this program, the idea is that you'll be able to be more efficient and kind of train at your own speed, and still have the same level of training and expertise, but also have the flexibility that you need in order to still be able to do your day-to-day functions. So very, very excited for that, and very excited to be working with Drone U on that.
Awesome.
Let's go ahead and read off that question.
All right. Well, our first question is from Derek Hunt. He's the EMS director from the city of Dickinson.
That's in Texas, right?
Yeah, that is in Texas.
Thanks, Derek, for the question.
Yeah, thank you very much. And here's his question. It says, first, let me say I cannot thank you enough for your YouTube channel and the videos you put out. They are a great resource as we are looking to implement a UAS program with our municipal department and are trying to soak up as much information as possible. We are a smaller city in southeast Texas that was recently devastated by flooding from Hurricane Harvey. With this, I have my personal drone that I've utilized throughout the flood event for rescues, aerial mapping, but had a question with regard to this that I have not been able to find a straight answer to. Can you possibly discuss or advise the 107 laws pertaining to municipalities in a disaster-declared area? I know civilian 107 pilots must have a COA with a municipality or other local, state, or federal groups to fly during these times, but I cannot find anyone who knows how it pertains to an employee of a municipality or other local, state, or federal group that has their own drone to utilize in a time of disaster. Also, do municipalities have to have a COA during a declared disaster? I could understand later on in the disaster, but what about early on? I was curious if you had any experience, thoughts, or knowledge on this. Any help of references would be greatly appreciated. Thanks again, respectfully, Derek Hunt.
Awesome.
Well, great question.
That's a great question. There's a lot to it, so let's go ahead and break down. Let's break down what Part 107, what a COA really is. So COA, meaning a Certificate of Authorization, gives the ability to basically for an agency or an entity, really, to be able to, I don't want to say break the rules, but kind of bend them a little bit. They might need an authorization to fly in certain airspaces that are not generally out of the box authorized. So they get this COA to be able to fly in that airspace. Now here's the thing: as a municipality, you do not need a public COA. You could totally run your operation as a Part 107. In fact, there are certain circumstances where a Part 107 is beneficial, and then there's certain circumstances where a public COA is beneficial. I won't go into the details so much in this podcast because we've talked about it in prior, but my recommendation is that every agency targets the Part 107 and then evaluates if getting a public COA is useful for them. Currently, right now, public COAs have certain advantages where if you get one, specifically a blanket COA, and there's two different types of COAs. There's jurisdictional and blanket. Jurisdiction is just basically for the boundaries of your organization. A blanket is basically you can just fly anywhere, but there's certain restrictions, like you can't fly within, I believe it's like so many nautical miles of an airport, and any kind of airport, Class G or whatever that may be.
Gotcha.
Also, when you're running as a public agency, is my interpretation, my understanding is you cannot bill for your services. So if you're thinking spiller pays, let's say your drone, you have wear and tear on your drone, you need a special cleaning, you need to get new batteries because of that hazmat call you ran, you technically cannot bill if you're flying under a public COA, because that's considered a commercial operation, which falls under 107.
Gotcha.
Because with 107, it's about, it's not just about exchanging money, but it's also about exchanging, about bettering your business or and improving on things. So it's kind of a gray area, but that's what my interpretation is. So, I mean, I'm sure others may have other interpretations. But my recommendation is you target a Part 107. You determine if a public COA is really needed for your organization. And again, the two things that you get out of the box with a public COA is you can fly over non-crew member personnel that are related to the incident. This would be other law enforcement, other firefighters that are fighting the fire, and it enables you to do that. It even enables you to, if someone's life is in danger, to fly over that person to, give them first aid supplies, a light, PFD, whatever that may be. And a lot of agencies that are out there right now have seen this addendum that has come out to their blanket COAs. It also gives you the ability to fly at night, assuming you follow certain rules, like you have a visual observer. You go through the whole, how to deal with night illusions training that we've done.
Sure.
And that you get that out of the box. Now with a Part 107, you still technically cannot fly over people. So in the case of municipalities, kind of circling back, as a municipality, if you're flying under Part 107, you're no different than any type of other civil operation.
Gotcha.
You're just like if you're a regular civilian flying. The good thing is, if you have your Part 107, you can just go take off. You don't need to have a COA. They don't need to have a COA. Now, here's the catch. If you have a TFR that is currently a temporary flight restriction issued by the FAA, then you need to get a COA, what's called an E-COA, in order to fly under that TFR. And that's what maybe Derek is thinking of that he actually needed. He needed to get that E-COA in order to fly under that TFR. But if there's no TFR, you can just go ahead and fly your mission and be set with it. I think that pretty much answers, most parts of his question. Whether you need like a municipal, whether the municipality needs a COA or you need a COA. The reality is that it depends on if there's a TFR, then yes, you need a COA. If you're going to be flying close to an airport, yes, you need a COA then. But it really has, but that the missions in Class G airspace, I don't, and if there's no TFR, there should be nothing stopping you from flying under a 107. Now, if you need to have a night waiver, then you need to go ahead and file for that night waiver, and in that filing, you're going to specify what you're going to do to keep the airspace safe. But I think that pretty much covers everything.
So in his case, with the Hurricane Harvey and the disaster,
well, the hurricane.
Here's
the thing. In the very beginning, probably the very initial, I want to say seconds, minutes after it got safe to fly, there probably wasn't a TFR up right away.
Right.
Then he could actually fly those missions, and that's okay. As long as he has to follow all the 107 rules, making sure he's not doing anything hazardous, not flying over people, make sure he has visual line of sight. All those things have to still occur.
Sure.
But once that TFR goes up, and it kind of depends on the language of the TFR, and this is actually kind of a debate that I had. So I've seen a TFR that goes up. Actually, it affected me on a recent mission, and it basically said that no aircraft can fly unless they have permission from the state. And I was kind of like, yeah, but you know what? I always thought that I still always needed to still get permission to fly, even though the state is authorizing it. You still need to get that number. And the thing is, I would talk to my local FSDO office. I got two different answers from two different people. The one guy said no, as long as he had the state's permission, whoever the FAA said had authority, as long as you had the permission, you're fine. And then someone else said no, you still need to call to get your emergency COA. So here's the thing: call the SGI number. Takes 2 to 3 minutes. And the guy was super cool that I called. I think I might have woke him up. because
Oh, no.
it was late at night,
Right.
and you're calling a DC number, so I'm assuming that, I mean, it was the one guy, and I thought I heard a TV in the background, but I don't know. But he was super nice. Guy was super awesome, super nice, and he gave me verbal permission right away to go fly, and then just said, just go ahead and file the paperwork when you can on the next day. So I went
That's
and
cool.
submitted it and filed it, and it just worked. So I think, if you think you aren't sure, just sign on error and call that number, get your ECOA, and just be done with it.
Sure.
I think that's just always going to be the safest bet, because it's just always going to cover you.
Cover your butt a little bit.
Yep.
That's
So-
good. That's definitely good advice for.
Yeah, no, that's what and that's only in case of emergency. Now, Derek, if you've got, I don't know much about your municipality, but if you've got airports by you that are like Class D, C, or B, or surface down to the E, you definitely want to get airspace authorizations if you're going to go do the 107 route. With a public COA, if it's a blanket COA, it's going to be much harder. I don't think you'll be able to use a blanket COA for those airports. You would actually have to get a jurisdictional COA, which will have more stringent requirements in flying with that airspace, how to notify air traffic control, things of that nature.
Sounds a little more involved.
It is more involved, and I kind of always side on, this is another thing like the Part 107. The airspace authorization process is pretty simple, and it's, with Part 107, I can go take the class today, and within 10 days, I can be in the air flying. With a blanket COA, the hardest thing sometimes for some agencies is getting that letter of declaration that you're a public entity. It can take weeks. It can take months.
Sure.
And the one thing I like about a Part 107 also is that it kind of defines some level of standard of training. Because a lot of agents says, well, I got my public COA and I'm going to self-certify. And self-certifying could be like, I read the instructions on the drone. And you could technically say that's self-certifying. But would you just trust somebody if they just said, yeah, I just read the instructions, the instruction manual, say, okay, I'm ready to go to fly?
Yeah.
No. But saying that you're going to use the Part 107 is what you're going to use to self-certify, definitely then would give you, I don't want to say legitimacy, but at least some type of basic standard out there saying that I have some level of proficiency,
Same
at
kind of a
least
training.
knowing what's going on with the airspace.
Right.
There is the practical side of things that you have to address as well, but I've always a big advocate of like start with Part 107, evaluate if a public COA is what you really need to do.
Well, very good.
Well,
If Mr. Derek wanted to have reach out to you again, just submit questions through here.
you can submit questions through here. You can actually, that's probably the best bet. And we'll go
Very
ahead.
cool.
We'll go ahead and send him our internal email address too, in case he has any other further questions.
Sure.
But honestly, if you have other questions, I like to put them on the podcast,
Yeah.
because if you're thinking it, there's probably someone else that also is thinking it, and to be able to help someone else out is always a positive thing, right?
Yeah, that's awesome, especially with the
that's what
devastation that's happening down there
Yeah, that's
and anywhere.
yeah, really anywhere. And in all honesty, I mean that's what we're all about. We're all about helping others. So
Yeah.
yep,
Well, very good. Well, thank you very much, Derek, for your question.
yep.
And we're hopefully able to at least shed some light on it.
Yep, and if there's any further follow-up, just let us know. And on that note, I think we're going to wrap this episode.
Awesome.
Cool. So my name was Keenan,
My name's Steve.
and this was Saving Lives with Drones.